Hey, welcome back to That 70s Card Show. I'm your host, John Keating, and I thank you for joining me as I take a look back at the cards and the culture of the very colorful 1970s. We'll revisit a more simple time in our hobby by taking a deep dive into the sets and the stats with a generous amount of dad facts sprinkled in. That 70s Card Show is currently sponsored by nobody. If you have a comment or suggestion, I urge you to drop me a line at ThatSeventiesCardShow@gmail.com, That 70s Card Show on YouTube, or at 70s Card on Twitter. This is episode 53. We are beginning year two. And yes, I'm as surprised as you are. Before we get into that, talk a little bit about the reason for the season, Memorial Day 2022. Of course, many athletes served our country and paid the ultimate price, many of them unknown. Maybe had a cup of coffee in the major leagues or football, or college athletes that never quite made it onto cards. A couple instances of obviously World War I, World War II, and the Korean War, where baseball players served with dignity and to protect us. But Memorial Day is about those who paid the ultimate sacrifice, and I guess my mind always goes to Pat Tillman when I think of that. Obviously, he walked the walk after 9/11, enlisted, became a ranger with his brother, and died in Afghanistan. Of course, John Krakauer wrote a brilliant book called Where Men Win Glory. I think he released it in 2009. John Krakauer is one of my favorite authors, but tells the story of Pat Tillman and his journey to Afghanistan and what happened there in Afghanistan. Obviously a tragedy all around. Great book. By one of my favorite authors. So obviously, Pat Tillman, we salute you today. Also want to call out Ensign Daniel P. Hummel, who passed away on March 17th, 1983. His call name was Dahl. Danny Hummel died in a F-14 collision over about 100 miles off the coast of Puerto Rico. They were attached to the USS Eisenhower. Danny was my cousin, and I didn't know Danny very well because my family's from Philadelphia, and somehow my aunt met and married a guy from Iowa. So Danny and his 5 brothers and sisters were raised in Iowa. I didn't get to see them much, but I do recall spending time with Danny. Probably 1982, he came out with his girlfriend. He was on leave, I'm sure, and got to show him around. We drove around Valley Forge, just me, him, and his girlfriend, and a really good time. Like, you know, he's 12 years older than me, and your older cousin, hanging out with your older cousin was pretty special. It's probably something I didn't even get to do with my cousins that were from Philadelphia that I saw many times a year. So that was fun, and it's a memory I'll always have of Danny. And as has been said about Danny in his tributes, he died doing what he wanted to do. He was always about flying and always wanted to be a pilot. He was a navigator on an F-14. I believe he had kind of wanky, not perfect 20/20 vision or whatever is required. So he was a navigator on an F-14, doing what he loved to do. So Danny, Memorial Day, I always think of my cousin Danny. So maybe you guys have somebody you think of and can recall fond memories of them. So episode 53, here we go. This is the night to have a major throwdown here with some dad facts. We haven't done dad facts in a while. I am going to go full-blown nuclear on everybody right now. So let's talk about 1975, also known as MCMLXXV. It was the common year starting on Wednesday of the Gregorian calendar, the 1975th year of the Common Era, and Anno Domini, the AD, of course, designation, the 975th year of the second millennium, and the 75th year of the 20th century, and of course, the 6th year of the wonderful decade of the 1970s. It was declared International Women's Year by the United Nations and the European Architectural Heritage Year by the Council of Europe. So on January 15th, the steel roller coaster Space Mountain opens at Walt Disney World in Florida, becoming one of the park's most popular attractions well into the 21st century. Let's see, January 26th, Immaculata University, I believe it was college back then, defeats the University of Maryland 80-48 in the first nationally televised women's basketball game in the United States. Immaculata was an all-female university or college on the main line in Pennsylvania. It's now co-ed, I believe, but wonderful story. Small school, all-female Catholic school, and they beat the U of M. There's a movie about it called The Mighty Max. I think it was released in 2009. Funny story there. I worked on that movie. I believe it was filmed like 2004. It took a while for it to get out there. And if you look hard enough, you can see my name in the credits, albeit misspelled. Good luck finding that. February 11th, Margaret Thatcher defeats Edward Heath for the leadership of the opposition UK Conservative Party. Thatcher is Britain's first female leader of any political party. February 21st, the Watergate scandal. Former United States Attorney General John Mitchell and former White House aides H.R. Haldeman and John Ehrlichman are sentenced between 30 months and 8 years in prison. February 23rd, in response to the energy crisis, daylight savings time commences nearly 2 months early in the United States. Why do we still have that, I wonder? March 1st, Aston Villa wins the Football League Cup at Wembley, beating Norwich City 1-0 in the final. And also on March 1st, Australian television switches to full-time color, and that's color with a U in there. March 9th, construction of the Trans-Alaskan Pipeline System begins. March 10th, the Rocky Horror Show opens on Broadway, closes after 3 previews and 45 performances. March 29th, Blow by Blow by Jeff Beck is released. It would become his most successful album in the United States, reaching the top 5 and selling over 1 million copies. I will tell you under oath that I am not a Jeff Beck fan. I don't get him, but I don't really listen to him that much either, so perhaps I should listen to him before I pass judgment, but Jeff Beck has never appealed to me. I apologize. March 31st, in his final game on the sideline, John Wooden coaches UCLA to its 10th national championship in 12 seasons when the Bruins defeat Kentucky 92-85 in the title game at San Diego. April 3rd, Bobby Fischer refuses to play chess against Anatoly Karpov, giving Karpov the title. Also on April 3rd, Monty Python and the Holy Grail is released in the UK. Hey, I don't really get the Monty Python thing as well, but obviously I'm in the minority. April 4th, Bill Gates and Paul Allen found Microsoft in Albuquerque, New Mexico, known as the ABQ. April 9th, Asia's first professional basketball game, first professional basketball league, the Philippine Basketball Association plays its first game at the Araneta Coliseum. April 30th, the Vietnam War ends with the fall of Saigon. The Vietnam War concludes as communist forces from North Vietnam take Saigon, resulting in mass evacuation of the remaining American troops and South Vietnam civilians. As the capital is taken, South Vietnam surrenders unconditionally and is replaced with a temporary provisional government. Another reason to think about those who died serving our country, Vietnam veterans, obviously. Many of us know some. Many of them served. Many baseball players in the 70s and late 60s both served and played baseball, so think about them as well, please. Okay, May 3rd, West Ham United wins the FA Cup at Wembley, beating Fulham 2-0 in the final. Both goals are scored by Alan Taylor, and West Ham legend Bobby Moore appears for Fulham. Nobody cares about that, but I thought it was cool. Busch Gardens in Williamsburg, Williamsburg, Virginia opens May 5th of 1975. May 16th, Junko Taibei from Japan becomes the first woman to reach the summit of Mount Everest. May 17th, Elton John's Captain Fantastic and the Brown Derek Cowboy becomes the first album to enter the U.S. Billboard Top 200 album chart at number 1. May 25th, Bobby Unser wins the Indianapolis 500 for the second time in a range-shortened 174-lap, 700-kilometer, 430-mile race. Yesterday, if you were listening to this week, the Indy 500 was run. I'm sure they had a gay old time there. The Golden State Warriors win the 1975 NBA championship on the same day. Bobby Unser wins the Indy 430. May 27th in the National League, the National Hockey League, that is, the Philadelphia Flyers defeat the Buffalo Sabres 2-0 in Game 6 of the finals to claim their second straight Stanley Cup. June 7th, the first ever Cricket World Cup, 1975 Cricket World Cup, is held in England with West Indies defeating Australia in the final. June 20th, Jaws is released in theaters and becomes a popular summer hit, setting the standard for Hollywood blockbusters for years to come. Bad year for Portugal, 1975. On June 25th, Mozambique gains independence from Portugal. July 5th, Cape Verde gains independence after 500 years of Portugal rule. July 12th, Sao Tome and Principe declare independence from Portugal. And July 6th, the Comoros declares and is granted their independence from France. So a lot happening there in July. July 17th, the Apollo-Soyuz test project manned American Apollo spacecraft and the manned Soyuz spacecraft dock in orbit, making the first such link-up between spacecraft from the two nations. July 30th, in Detroit, former Teamster president Jimmy Hoffa is reported missing. August 3rd, the Louisiana Superdome opens in New Orleans. August 5th, U.S. President Ford posthumously restores the U.S. citizenship of General Robert E. Lee, military leader of the Confederate States of America. I'm not quite sure why that needed to happen. I don't care that it did happen, but it seems odd that we're wasting our time on that stuff. August 20th, the Viking program, Viking 1, launches planetary probe toward Mars. August 25th, Bruce Springsteen's album Born to Run is released in the United States. September 5th, in Sacramento, California, Lynette Squeaky Fromme attempts to assassinate U.S. President Gerald Ford, but is thwarted by a Secret Service agent. September 9th, Riverfront Coliseum opens in Cincinnati. September 16th, Papua New Guinea gains its independence from Australia. And then same day, Cape Verde, Mozambique, and Sao Tome and Principe join the United Nations. September 18th, fugitive Patty Hearst is captured in San Francisco. September 19th, the British comedy sitcom Fawlty Towers airs on BBC Two. I also don't get Fawlty Towers. September 22nd, poor Jerry Ford. He survives a second assassination attempt, this time by Sarah Jane Moore in San Francisco. So the women of Northern California definitely did not dig Gerald Ford, for sure. October 1st, the Thrilla in Manila happens. Muhammad Ali defeats Joe Frazier in a boxing match in Manila, Philippines. On October 11th, NBC airs the first episode of Saturday Night Live. George Carlin is the first guest host, Billy Preston and Janice Ian the first musical guests. October 16th, the last naturally occurring case of smallpox is diagnosed and treated, the victim being 2-year-old Rahimi Banu. Let's put a paper clip in that one. We might get back to that someday. October 21st, the 1975 World Series, the U.S. baseball team, the Boston Red Sox, defeat the Cincinnati Reds in Game 6 off Carlton Fisk's 12th inning home run in one of the most famous World Series games ever played. The following day, the series ends with Game 7 in a broadcast that breaks records and hearts for a televised sporting event. October 28th, Dr. No is broadcast on ITV, becomes the first Bond film that is shown on British television. October 30th, the Queen single Bohemian Rhapsody is released. It later becomes one of their most popular songs. November 10th, the 729-foot long freighter SS Edmund Fitzgerald sinks during a storm 27 kilometers from the entrance of Whitefish Bay on Lake Superior. All 29 crew members on board are killed, and this event is immortalized in a song by Gordon Lightfoot. The losing streak continues for Portugal on November 11th as Angola becomes independent from Portugal and civil war ensues. November 16th, it's the beginning of the Third Cod War between UK and Iceland, which lasts until June 26th. That's the Third Cod War, folks. It's a shame It's a shame that had to happen. November 20th, former California Governor Ronald Reagan enters the race for the Republican presidential nomination, challenging incumbent President Gerald Ford. November 22nd, Juan Carlos is declared King of Spain. Nobody cares. November 26th, the cult classic movie, The Rocky Horror Picture Show, is released in the United States. So it went from Broadway bomb to box office smash, or at least cult smash. November 28th, the name Microsoft for microcomputer software is used by Bill Gates in a letter to Paul Allen for the first time. Microsoft becomes a registered trademark on November 26, 1976. And also on November 28th, Formula One world champion Graham Hill is killed when the Piper Aztec aeroplane he is flying crashes in foggy conditions near Arkley Golf Course in North London. December 18th, boy, get ready to absorb this one, guys. The Lutz family moves into 112 Ocean Avenue, Amityville, Long Island, New York, in the United States, only to flee from the house after 28 days, which will go on to inspire the story, the Amityville Horror. I was scared out of my little garanimals when that thing came out, the Amityville Horror, and I probably still am to this day. December 21st, 6 people, including Carlos the Jackal, kidnap delegates of an OPEC conference in Vienna. And most importantly, December 25th, the heavy metal band Iron Maiden is formed by Steve Harris in London. And date unknown, Lyme disease is first diagnosed, oddly enough, in Lyme, Connecticut. And Peter Gabriel departs Genesis and is replaced on lead vocals by drummer Phil Collins. The first monster truck, Bigfoot, is created by Bob Chandler in 1975. I don't know if anybody's got monster truck cards, but I'm sure somebody just raised their hand out there, so good for you guys. World population in 1975 was 4,068,109,000 peoples. And that's that. Birthdays, January 5th, Bradley Cooper was born. January 6th, James Farrier was born. January 10th, Jake Delhomme was born. January 20th, David Eckstein was born. January 23rd, Tito Ortiz was born. February 9th, Vlad the Elder Guerrero was born. February 18th, Gary the Weasel Neville, Manchester United player. February 22nd, Drew Barrymore was born. March 18th, Brian Greasy. March 27th, Fergie. April 4th, Scott Rowland. April 7th, both Rondé Barber and Tiki Barber were born. What a coincidence that was, both born on the same day. April 30th, John Galecki, who is, he's on that, what's that show, Big Bang Theory, but I like him better from the wonderful HBO show, The Entourage. Guest spot there. May 1st, Mark Vivian Foe was born. He's a footballer who, or I guess you guys would call it a soccer player, who died on the pitch in 2003, tragically. David Beckham was born May 2nd. Enrique Iglesias was born May 8th. Helio Castroneves was born May 8th. May 15th, Ray Lewis. May 18th, Jack Johnson, that guy with the surfboard and the guitar. May 19th, London Fletcher. May 22nd, Yanni Ninemaya, Finnish hockey player. May 25th, Lauryn Hill was born, everybody. June 4th, Russell Brand and Angelina Jolie were born. June 7th, we got the answer when Allen Iverson was born. Martin St. Louis was born on June 18th, which would have been my brother's 10th birthday. Anthony Parker was born June 19th. Tobey Maguire, Spider-Man, June 27th. 50 Cent was born July 6th. Jack White, July 9th. It Might Get Loud. That's a great movie. See it, everybody. Torrey Hunter was born July 18th. Ray Allen, July 20th. Shea Hildenbrand on July 27th. And Alex Rodriguez also on July 27th. August 7th, Charlize Theron was given to the world as a gift from her mother. August 12th, Casey Affleck negated the birth of Charlize Theron by being born. So we had 5 days of bliss. Derek Lee was born September 6th. Michael Bublé, September 9th. Again, for every yin, there's a yang. Jimmy Johnson, who is the American race car driver, was born September 17th. Jason Sudeikis, we love him. We know him as Ted Lasso, was born September 18th. Juan Pablo Montoya was born September 20th. And Matt Hasselbeck was born September 25th. Kate Winslet, also known to me as mayor of Easttown, born October 5th. Sean Ono Lennon was born October 9th. And Floyd Landis, disgraced American cyclist from the Lancaster area of Pennsylvania, born October 14th. November 14th was another dark day in history, 1975. Travis Barker, the drummer from Blink-182, was born, and we know how that ended up. And Gary Vaynerchuk also was born on November 14th. I have his birth certificate in an NFT, so look out for that on eBay soon. November 18th, the Big Papi was born in the Dominican Republic. December 8th, Kevin Harvick. December 13th, Tom DeLonge from Blink-182. December 27th, Heather O'Rourke was born. She would die 13 years later. She, of course, was in the movie Poltergeist. And Tiger Woods got in under the gun on the December 30th, 1975. We lost Larry Fine on January 24th. We lost Joe Ducky Medwick on March 21st. Chiang Kai-shek left us in a huff on April 5th. And Pete Ham, April 24th. Pete Ham, you say. Pete Ham was the singer-songwriter in the band Badfinger, which was a wonderful band plagued by management and record label shenanigans. So Badfinger, love that band, extremely talented. Of course, he became a member of the 27 Club at that point. May 4th, Mo Howard died. May 22nd, one of my favorites, Robert Moses Lefty Grove died. Steve Prefontaine also died on May 30th in a car accident out there in the Oregons. Haile Selassie died August 27th, and Casey Stengel, the old professor, died September 29th. Let's talk a little bit of culture here, music and movies. I love music from the 70s, and eventually we'll talk about cards if you're still listening, but let's talk a little bit about music. I'm going to take my glasses off because I'm not using them. January 6th, approximately 1,000 Led Zeppelin fans waiting for tickets to go on sale for Led Zeppelin's February 4th concert caused an estimated $30,000 in damage to the lobby of the Boston Garden, or as they say, the Boston Garden. The fans reportedly broke chairs and doors and caused other damage to the building. Boston Mayor Kevin White cancels the upcoming show. That would not happen with a Pink Floyd crowd, of course. Led Zeppelin people way too aggressive. March 2nd, the Los Angeles police make a routine traffic stop that turns out to be Paul McCartney and his wife, Linda. Linda is arrested for having 170 to 225 grams of the marijuana in her pocketbook. March 26th, the film version of The Who's Tommy premieres in London. Steve Miller, on April 3rd, is arrested and charged with setting fire to the clothes and personal effects of a friend, Benita D'Orio, and resisting arrest. April 7th, Richie Blackmore plays a final show with Deep Purple in Paris before quitting to form his own group, Rainbow. I will tell you on the record, I loved Rainbow more than I loved Deep Purple. My brother Joseph Patrick loves the Deep Purple and the Rainbow and the Led Zeppelin, so it was a big, big, monumental year, 1975 for Joe. June 20th, the Talking Heads perform their first show at CBGB in New York. June 30th, Cher and Greg Allman are married in a Las Vegas hotel suite. That same day, the Jackson 5 leave Motown for CBS Records, but the brothers are forced to change their name to the Jacksons because Motown owns the Jackson 5 name. Jermaine Jackson stays with Motown when his brothers break their contracts and leave for CBS. He is replaced by the youngest Jackson brother, Randy, as a result. Someday I'll tell my Greg Allman story. September 15th, Pink Floyd, the greatest band ever, releases their 9th album, Wish You Were Here. October 18th, Simon and Garfunkel reunite on the second ever episode of Saturday Night Live, performing The Boxer, great song, Scarborough Fair, and new collaboration, My Little Town. November 6th, the Sex Pistols play, and I put that in parentheses, or quotes I should say, their first concert at St. Martin's School of Art in London. December 10th, the John Denver holiday special Rocky Mountain Christmas airs on ABC. December 31st, Elvis Presley performs before the biggest audience of his career at the Pontiac Silverdome. During the show, Elvis rips his pants on stage and has to leave to change. Top-selling albums of 1975 were Wish You Were Here, Physical Graffiti by the Led Zeppelin, Toys of the Attic by A.I. Smith, I did that bad. Kiss Alive, okay, which really wasn't a live album. It was a studio recording with a bunch of fan noise pumped in. And Fleetwood Mac's Fleetwood Mac. Great albums all. Love the Fleetwood Mac stuff, of course. Love the Pink Floyd, Physical Graffiti, all that stuff. So, well done. Top grossing movies of 75 again. We mentioned Jaws. Apparently had 126 million tickets sold. One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, 53 million tickets sold. Shampoo, 24 million tickets. Dog Day Afternoon, 22 million tickets. And The Return of the Pink Panther with 20 million tickets sold. So let's talk a little NFL football as it was in the 1975 year. 1975 NFL Draft was held from January 28th to 29th at New York City's Hilton at Rockefeller Center. With the first pick, the Atlanta Falcons selected quarterback Steve Bartkowski from the University of California. Hall of Famer Randy White would be selected second. Walter Payton would go fourth behind, of course, Ken Huff, picked by the Colts at 3. Robert Brazil picked at number 6, and Russ Francis was picked at 16. So a couple Hall of Famers in the first 6 picks and a couple whiffs in the first couple picks. Thomas Hollywood Henderson was picked 18th overall by the Clown Boys. He went to Langston College. Who else was in that? Not a lot of else going on there, right? Yeah, it was a pretty weak draft, but football was pretty special back then. The 1975 NFL season was the 56th regular season of the National Football League. It was the first NFL season without a tie game. The league made 2 significant changes to increase the speed of the game. One is the surviving clubs with the best or the appeal of the game, I should say. One was the surviving clubs with the best regular season records were made the home teams for each playoff round. Previously, the games had rotated by divisions. And there were some other things. I'll get to those in a minute. But anyway, instead of a traditional Thanksgiving Day game hosted by the Dallas Cowboys, the league scheduled a Buffalo Bills at St. Louis Cardinals contest. This was the first season since 1966 that the Cowboys did not play on that holiday. The season culminated with Super Bowl X when the Pittsburgh Steelers repeated as champions by beating the Dallas Cowboys 21-17 at the Orange Bowl in Miami. Great Super Bowl, I believe. So the September 21st was the first game, and the last game was on December 21st, 1975. Playoffs started on December 27th. The AFC champions were the Steelers, obviously. NFC champions were the Cowboys, blah, blah, blah. Super Bowl was on January 18th, 1976. And the Pro Bowl was on January 26th, 1976, and it was at the Louisiana Superdome. Some of the more rule changes here. After a 4th down incomplete pass goes in or through the end zone, the other team will take possession at the previous line of scrimmage. Previously, it resulted in a touchback. The penalty for pass interference on the offensive team is reduced from 15 yards to 10. If there are fouls by both teams on the same play, but one results in a player ejection, the penalties will offset, but the player will still be ejected. Referees were equipped with wireless microphones to announce penalties and clarify complex and or unusual rulings to both fans and the media. The NFL thus became the first professional league in North America to adopt this technology. Some coaching changes during the offseason. Marion Campbell began his first full season as head coach. He replaced Norm Van Brocklin, who was fired after starting the 1974 season at 2-6. Ted Marchibota joined the Colts as head coach. Howard Snellenberger was fired after 3 games in the 74 season. General manager Joe Thomas then served for the remainder of that stint. Chicago Bears Abe Gibron was fired and replaced by Jack Pardee. Cleveland Browns, Forrest Gregg replaced the fired Nick Skorich. Green Bay Packers Dan Devine left to join the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Former Packers quarterback Bart Starr was named to replace Devine. In Houston, Bum Phillips replaced Sid Gilman. I think we all have an affinity for Bum Phillips. Those late 70s Oilers were great teams. In Kansas City, Hank Stram, the team's only head coach in franchise history, was relieved of his duties. Paul Wiggin was named the team's new coach. Now, during the season, 75, John North of the Saints was fired after a 1-5 start and replaced by Ernie Hefferly, who served as an interim coach. And New York Jets' Charlie Winner, nice name, pal, was fired 9 games into the season after only posting 2 wins. Offensive coordinator Ken Shipp served as interim coach for the last 5 games. Let's talk stadiums here. We love stadiums. The home of the Atlanta Falcons, Atlanta Stadium, was renamed Atlanta Fulton County Stadium, reflecting Fulton County as a co-owner of the stadium. The Detroit Lions moved from Tiger Stadium to the Silverdome in Pontiac, Michigan. Must have been fun seeing the Lions play at Tiger Stadium back then. New Orleans Saints moved from Tulane Stadium to the Louisiana Superdome, while Giants Stadium in East Rutherford, New Jersey, remained under construction. The New York Giants moved from the Yale Bowl in New Haven, Connecticut, to Shea Stadium, temporarily sharing it with the Jets. Uniform changes, ho-hum. The Houston Oilers switched from blue to white helmets. I love that. Actually, I love the blue helmets probably better. New Orleans Saints switched from gold to white pants. New York Giants introduced a new uniform that featured blue jerseys, red trim, and white pants. The white jerseys, red trim, and blue pants. Wow. The new design emphasized a widened striping pattern with an accent color white. The lowercase ny helmet logo was replaced by the striped uppercase NY, while the face masks were changed from gray to white. Not to be outdone, the Cleveland Browns, in an epic move, switched from white to orange pants, and the face masks were changed from gray to white. Wow. Starting in 1970 and through 2001, there were 3 divisions, Eastern, Central, and Western, in each conference. The winners of each division and the 4th wildcard team, based on the best non-division winner, qualified for the playoffs. The tiebreaker rules were changed to start with head-to-head competition, followed by division records against common opponents, and then record in conference play. The Colts won that AFC East in a tiebreaker with the Dolphins. Both finished 10-4. The Bills were 8-6. The Jets were 3-11, and the Patriots were 3-11. Over in the Central of the American Football Conference, the Pittsburgh Steelers 12-2 won the division over the 11-3 Cincinnati Bengals. Houston Oilers were 10-4, and the Browns were 3-11. What a packed division that was back then. 3 teams with double-digit wins, and of course we were only playing 14 games back then. Out there in the West, Oakland Raiders had an 11-3 record against the Broncos with 6-8, and the Chiefs 5-9, and the Chargers 2-12. Of course, the Chargers would soon become very good, and I guess the Broncos would become good too. So, National Football Conference, for some bizarre reason, the St. Louis Cardinals won the NFC East with an 11-3 record. The Cowboys' 10-4 record would get the wild card. Washington Redskins at 8-6. New York Giants at 5-9, and your heroes, the Philadelphia Eagles, finished 4-10. NFC Central was the Vikings 12-2, the Lions 7-7, and the Bears and Packers both at 4-10. Out in the West, the Rams 12-2, the 49ers 5-9, the Falcons 4-10, and the Saints were 2-12. I'd have to say, in general, the American Football Conference was much more competitive. So in the tiebreakers, the Colts finished ahead of Miami in the AFC based on head-to-head sweep. Colts beat them 2-0. Beat them twice during the season. New York Jets finished ahead of the New England in the AFC East based on head-to-head sweep, two victories to none. Minnesota was the top NFC playoff seed based on point rating system. The Vikings were first in NFC in points scored and second in NFC in points allowed for a combined rating of 3, while the Rams were fifth in NFC points scored and first in NFC in points allowed for a combined rating of 6. Whatevers. That's why they changed the rules, I guess. And Chicago finished ahead of Green Bay in the NFC Central based on a better division record. That probably didn't matter because they were both 4-10. Playoffs over there at the Metropolitan Stadium in Minnehaha. Cowboys beat the number 1 seeded Vikings, while the Los Angeles Rams beat the number 3 seeded St. Louis Cardinals. So Yeah, so that was a bit of a shootout, 35-23 at the Coliseum in L.A. Also at the Coliseum in L.A., the Cowboys on the road again walloped the Los Angeles Rams 37-7 to make it to the Super Bowl. In the AFC, the Oakland Raiders squeaked one out at home versus the Bengals 31-28, and Pittsburgh beat Baltimore 28-10 at Three Rivers, and again at Three Rivers, Pittsburgh 16-10 over the Oakland Raiders to reach the Super Bowl. Again, Pittsburgh 21-17 at Super Bowl 10 at the Miami Orange Bowl beat the Cowboys. MVP that year, Fran Tarkenton of the Vikings. Coach of the year was Ted Marchibroda of the Colts. Offensive Player of the Year, Fran Tarkenton. Defensive Player of the Year, Mel Blount. Offensive Rookie of the Year, Mike Thomas, running back, Washington. Defensive Rookie of the Year, Robert Brazil, linebacker, Houston. Man of the Year, Ken Anderson, who played for Cincinnati. Comeback Player of the Year, Dave Hampton, running back, Atlanta Falcons. Super Bowl Most Valuable Player, Lynn Swann, wide receiver of the Pittsburgh Steelers. So that's it for that. We got the facts out of the way. Let's talk about the cards, okay? Those facts there were supplied by Wikipedia, Football Almanac, Football Reference, all that stuff. So a shout out to all those folks for their contributions to the show. Now, perbeckett.com, we'll talk about the 75 Topps football set. It contains 528 standard-sized cards. Beneath a color photo, card fronts contain a banner with the team name. Both are done in a team color. To the right of the banner is a football helmet that includes the player's position. The player's name is at the bottom. Subsets include leaders 1 through 6, All-Pro 201 through 225, record breakers 351 through 356, highlights 452 through 460, and playoffs 526 through 528. The card backs are printed in black ink with a green background. It was the 70s, right? On gray cardstock, and contain statistical information and highlights. The key rookie cards in this set are Otis Armstrong, Rocky Blyer, Mel Blount, Cliff Branch, Dan Fouts, Cliff Harris, Drew Pearson, Lynn Swann, and Charlie Waters. The set also includes Joe Theismann's first NFL card after having performed in the Canadian Football League. Uncut sheet of team checklist cards was also available via mail-in offer on wax pack wrappers. We'll talk about that in a second. Let's get some visuals up here on the screen if you're watching at home. Got myself some awesome product displays here. Wax wrapper, cello packs. They were available in cello packs. They were available in rack packs. Wax boxes, vending cases. It was all there. They did it all. 75 football. 15 cents would get you 10 cards in a wax pack. 25 cents would get you 18 cards in a cello pack. 49 cents for 42 cards in a rack pack. Wax boxes had 36 packs. Vending cases, as usual, 24 500 count boxes, and you could buy that for under $100 US. These were released in one series. They had an insert in them, which was doggone ridiculous if you ask me. The inserts were scratch-offs, and Topps fought it with scratch-offs for a while. In fact, probably the worst Topps issue ever. It's either the 80-81 or the 81. I think it's the 81-82 Topps hockey issue. You had to scratch off to get the player's name, team, and position. So Topps began, or maybe I know they had scratch-offs earlier in baseball, but they continued the tradition of pushing these scratch-offs off on people. Not too fun, that's for sure. Anyway, I don't see too many of these in the wild, and I don't see too many people really caring about the scratch-offs. So it's kind of like you play a football game, and the backs of the cards had a rule for the football scratch-off, which I can bore you a little with this if you like. It says each player should have a card. Flip a coin to see who goes first. Play starts on player's 40-yard line. First player scratches off any 4 squares and moves the distance shown. If TD is scored, takes 7 points. Opponent takes over at his or hers, that's my embellishment, own 40-yard line. If no TD is scored, opponent takes over where the ball has advanced to. If ball is advanced to 20-yard line, a field goal try may be attempted by scratching off one of the bottom 4 panels. So this scratch off. Let's see here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 has 36 scratch offs up the top, and below there's 4 scratch offs for field goal tries. If fumble is scratched off, opponent takes over on your 40-yard line. If interception is scratched off, opponent also takes over on his 40-yard line. And use field to mark position of ball. So there's a little condensed grid on the right part of the back of the card here that lets you, I don't know, kind of keep track of where your ball is. Nice little score thing in the bottom as well, but I don't know how popular these were. Mark Hoyle probably knows, so I guess we'll wait for him to chime in. So that was the big insert. There's also a giveaway on this, which was the 1975 football checklist set, and the front was the 1975 schedule of the team, and I have a Pittsburgh Steelers one up right now. Nice little banner waving, says NFL and AFC. This says Pittsburgh Steelers, white on a red bed. 1975 schedule in yellow on top of black, and then it's their schedule. Of course, no bye weeks, 14 games. Nice little handy thing to have. The back was the actual checklist of the players that were offered in the 1975 Topps football set, and they are listed in alphabetical order, not numerical order. And I believe they only have the player's card. There's no checklist. There's no checklist for this part for any other special cards. So you could. They had 3 different wrappers back then. There was a wrapper for. There was a wrapper for the famous football locker. There was a wrapper for something else. Let me see if I have the other wrapper here. See what that one says. You could join the Topps Sports Club and all that entailed. So Topps Sports Club, the famous Topps locker, and you can send away for these cards, which was actually an uncut sheet of cards. I'll read a little bit here per postcardwars.com. postwarcards.com, which is interesting. This popped up today on my Twitter feed as I was well into researching, so hot off the presses. The 1975 Topps football wrappers front advertised the scratch-off game that came in every pack, but there were 3 wrapper variations that year for mail-in offers along the side of the flattened wrapper or the back of an unopened wax pack. One for the Topps Sports Card Locker, another to join the Topps Sports Club, and one for the team checklist cards shown below, or in this case on the screen. For 40 cents and 1 football wrapper, Topps would send back a tri-folded uncut sheet featuring 26 standard-sized cards, one for each of the 26 NFL teams. The front of the cards has each team's 1975 schedule, while the backs have player checklists that feature a card number, the player's name and position, and an empty check box. The fronts are distinguished by color, too, with AFC teams having a red top and NFC teams featuring a blue background along the top. All the backs have pink backgrounds. So you can get these things graded. They will say hand cut on them, and these are pretty pricey items here. Meaning they'll probably run you, in top condition, run you about $15 a pop, which is interesting considering it's just essentially a checklist, right? So that's that. That's a lot to talk about before we even talk about cards. Let's talk about the cards. So the cards came again, as we said, there was a bit of a banner on the bottom. There's portrait, every player card, regular issue player card is portrait sized or vertical, as we like to say. Some are action shots, some are bench shots, some are pose shots at various practices or camps, and some of them are like proof of life type stuff that were shot against the cinder block wall when available. Banner on the bottom, again, team name, conference. On the bottom right is a helmet with a player position in it, and below that on the white, the bottom of the white border is the player's name clearly spelled out. I have used Mel Blount as an example because I'm not sure if we see Mel Blount with a head of hair. Obviously, he doesn't have a full head of hair, but with a head of hair after this, because he would be known more intimidatingly with with a clean pate, as they say. There are horizontal cards or landscape cards. They are the All-Pro cards, that subset, and the Leaders cards. So same kind of thing, banner going across the top. 1974 NFL Leaders passing. I've put a nice shot of Sonny Jurgensen and Ken Anderson there. And then the All-Pro quarterbacks card has Fran Tarkenton and Ken Stabler. Highlights, same thing, a banner across the top. 1974 highlights. We have Cliff Branch snares 13 TD passes in a season. And then we have the postseason cards. There was an NFC and AFC, and I put the Super Bowl one up there for Super Bowl IX. It's the Steelers over the Vikings, 16-6. Checklist had a lot going on there. Yellow field with red banner with yellow lettering over top of a small black field with a green helmet and white borders. So they tried to include everybody there, everybody they could, or every color they could. Backs of the cards are mighty. So in the upper left, we'll have a square box on a regular card. Again, we said we have blue and green on gray backs here. Green is the predominant color, though. Player number, player name, player town, Oakland, for Kenny Stabler, and his position quarterback on the upper right. We've included his height, his weight, his school, his birth date, his home, how he was, where he was drafted, and how he was acquired. So in Ken Stabler's instance, it says number 2, 68, from Alabama or Raiders, and he was acquired via the draft. Checklists are green on the back with black ink, a little bit of a gray border. All pro running backs. I've put here Lawrence McCutcheon and O.J. Simpson. Nice little, the backs are busy on all these cards, but they're very appealing, I think. I think they did a great job, whoever the graphic artists were here. They think they did a wonderful job. Very appealing all around. They've got a lot of information, but they don't make your eyes fall out of your head. So the All-Pros have a little bio for the players. The record-breaking cards, Fred Cox I have here, of course, the inventor of the Nerf football, scores in 151 straight games, which was pretty cool. And it says Football Extra, has the Topps logo on there. It's the only time I think we see the Topps logo on the cards. It's in the upper left here. But you would see this kind of Football Extra or Baseball Extra or Sports Extra or whatever on the back of cards, traded issues and stuff like that for baseball around that era. The Leaders cards have the top 10 leaders in each conference on the back, and the Super Bowl card or the postseason cards have the statistical information from the game, and they have the box score as well as individual statistics or highlights that may have happened in that big Super Bowl. One of the interesting things here is George Blanda. George Blanda, this was his last run on the Topps card. So they gave him, and this is per, I think this is Trading Card Database supplies this. George Blanda, card number 7 and 8, appears consecutively on 2 cards, which is the first and only time Topps issued a player's card in sequence. Because Blanda's statistics, 1949 to 1974, proved to be too long to be included on the back of one card, along with his vitals, Topps produced 2 Blanda cards to encompass his record. Now, I know what you're going to say. Hank Aaron had something going on in 74, but I think that this was strictly made so that all of Blanda's information could make it onto one, or could make it into the same set. So I'll bring up George Blanda stuff. He's pictured in one photo, card number 7 with his black home jersey, or maybe that's his road jersey, I guess. And then card number 8 is the white jersey. And kind of biographical information on card 7, and card 8 has nothing but stats. Nothing but stats for the man. And he was a kicker, and he was a center, I believe. So, and he also didn't play in 1959 for some odd reason. So, has his points totals in there and all that fun stuff. No, he was a quarterback and a kicker. I'm sorry. I'm thinking of Jim Otto. I don't know what got into me. Sorry, everybody. So quarterback, kicker, George Blanda, kind of a tribute to him in this set. So Again, all players are in portrait form unless all pro or league leader cards. There's some checklist cards in here, all that stuff. The trademarks. They did not have the NFL license back then. I don't know what was going on with the players themselves, but they didn't have the NFL license, so we have a lot of airbrushing in this set, of course. Topps just didn't care, and a lot of airbrushing, a lot of paint went onto these cards. There's a bio in the back of all these cards as well, with year-by-year statistics and career statistics. Of course, we know in football, some players didn't accumulate statistics because they were offensive linemen or such. So, again, our league leaders are 1 through 6. Our all-star or all-pro cards are 201 through 225. Postseason 526 through 528. Record breakers 351 through 56. Blanda, again, 2 cards. And, yeah, that's about it. Some errors in this set. There's some uncorrected errors. Of course, Topps didn't really care about correcting errors, and they weren't that egregious. But as usual, get some names wrong, got some birthdays wrong, some draft. There's one with a draft position that's wrong. They had a really hard time, and this happened a lot in the 70s, differentiating between Charlie or Charlie. And by that I mean IE versus EY. So that happens to several players several times in this set. And Lynn Swan's position is spelled incorrectly. The whole I before E except after C. I don't know what the heck. But anyway, wide receiver is spelled wrong in the front of his card. And I probably would not have noticed that because I've got no problem butchering my writing. So let's talk about the judgment zone here. Let's get into that, right? The good. So I'm a big fan of some of these cards, some of these action photo cards. Reggie McKenzie has kind of a hey girl look to him going over here. I'm melting looking at his eyes. Gary Huff, quarterback for the Bears, there's a great shot of him, kind of a posed shot at Soldier Field with the old colonnades of Soldier Field popping up over his shoulders. I think that's brilliant. Bill Stanfill, midair tackle over what's probably maybe Joe Ferguson, I don't know, but there's a great shot of the Dolphins defensive end, Bill Stanfill, tackling an airbrushed, helmeted quarterback from the Bills. Spider Lockhart, not only does he have a great name, but Spider Lockhart's got one of those old school squeeze bottles with the long straw that angles out. So I think that's a great shot. Plus he's loaded up with forearm pads and elbow pads and all that stuff. So nice little shot encompassing the 70s there. And Greg Pruitt, who I thought was a great running back for the Browns, has the ball handed to him and then realizes that Mean Joe Green is coming right at him. So the card is as much a Mean Joe Green card as it is a Greg Pruitt card, but I think it's a wonderful card. So great to have. If you're a Joe Green collector, then that's definitely one to check out. Let's talk about the bad here, okay? So Dan Dickel is a linebacker for the Colts. Not only was he blessed with an unfortunate name, but boy, the genetics didn't help him either. He's got a full head of hair, so I admire that, but otherwise it just doesn't look like not the kind of guy you want to be saddling up to when closing time hits. Fred Biletnikoff never looked good. He looked like, the sideburns had more hair than the top of his head, and his hair looked streaky and greasy in his card, but, Fred did it on the field. He didn't care what he looked like. Larry Seipel does not look like he wants to be there, punter for the Dolphins. Ernie Holmes, defensive tackle for the Steelers. I don't know what's going on the top of his head. He appears to be shaved, but yet there's patches of hair up there. And Jim Tyrer, boy, that guy looks about as athletic as my middle school band teacher. I don't know how he ended up being a tackle in the NFL. I'm sure he had a great career, but he looks as unathletic as Chuck Neidhart, my band teacher in middle school. Let's see. Did we get to the ugly? I guess we did. We got some, we got some drunk uncles here, but I think I'm going to rename this kind of the drunk uncle cousin Eddie thing. Gary Premium never looked good on a card. He always looked like he was 65 years old. Walt Sumner, same thing. Looks not happy to be there, not happy to be blessed with male pattern baldness. Bob Asher looks like a true cousin Eddie from Christmas Vacation. Lyle Alzado and Carl Eller, both drunk uncles for sure on one card, and it's the first ever drunk uncle dynamic duo. Great players, both of them, but scary nonetheless. Now, Jim Mandic was a tight end for the Dolphins back yonder, and from the time I saw this card in the 1975, the mid-70s, it scared the bejesus out of me. And this card has not left. I think I've had this card pretty much the last 47 years or whatever, however old I am. I'm 54, so I've had this card a very long time, and I've never been impressed with that. He actually scares the crap out of me. Let's talk about some of the stat zones per Beckett OPG. Total value of the set, according to Beckett OPG, is $787. Average value, $1.49. Total cards, 529. There are 77 rookie cards in the set. Complete set of 528 cards will run you between $175 and $300, according to Beckett. Commons, 20 cents to 50 cents. Checklists, $2 to $4. There's some Hall of Famers in here, 91 of them in total, according to Trading Card Database. And that includes, obviously, league leaders, all pros, highlights, all that nonsense. So 91 cards feature Hall of Famers. Value-wise, top 6 per the Beckett OPG. Lynn Swan, uncorrected error rookie card, $30 to $60. Good-looking card, if you ask me. And that's Swanee's, of course, rookie card. And as we know in the NFL, their first year, they usually do not have rookie cards because of the timing of the draft and all that stuff. Rocky Bleier, his teammate, number 2, $15 to $40. Dan Fouts, rookie card, $20 to $40. Joe Theismann, of course, not a true rookie, but NFL rookie, $12.50 to $25. Mel Blount, $10 to $20. Drew Pearson of the Cowboys, $10 to $20. And there's more. Okay, because there's a lot of $10 to $20 guys. Roger Staubach, $10 to $20. Terry Bradshaw, $10 to $20. Team checklist of the Cowboys, $10 to $20, and team checklist of the Raiders is $10 to $20. Top rookie cards, we've kind of had them in here. Swanee, Rocky Bleier, Dan Fouts, Joe Theismann, and Mel Blount. So that's about it. That's 1975 Topps football. So Memorial Day still happening for some, perhaps later on in the week for others. My favorite television show of all time is Band of Brothers. And what better time to kind of re-up and watch that than kind of this time of year between now and obviously D-Day, which is next week, I believe. So get yourself some of that. Greatest TV show of all time, I think. I love HBO, obviously, but get yourself some of that. Band of Brothers. Wonderful, wonderful story. So that's it. Thanks for joining me this week on my journey back in time. If you have a comment or suggestion, I urge you to drop me a line at ThatSeventiesCardShow@gmail.com, ThatSeventiesCardShow on YouTube, or at 70SCard on Twitter. Again, thank you to those who paid the ultimate price. And we'll never forget you. So thanks. And everybody be safe. Have a wonderful week. Enjoy collecting, and more importantly, enjoy your collection. Goodbye.